The San Francisco 49ers salary cap space is expanding. That's right, it's getting bigger, which means they have some money to make some moves, and that's what they continue to do during this free agency frenzy. It ain't gonna stop, and I think they're gonna add one more piece while we at it before the draft. Stay tuned as we bring you the WayneBreezie Show.
So bright that we shine. All we know is the Niners. Ready go that is finest. So faithful to the bay. I be sipping gold bar whiskey on the rocks, and a 24 karat gold on a watch. My 7-1 Chevy be tipping non-stop, sounding like Trent Williams on the block. So you know we can't stop, we be banging through your speakers. WayneBreezie on the field or in the bleachers. You can tune into my show and I'm a teacher. WayneBreezie, the 4-9 preacher. We so bright that we shine.
What's going on, 49er faithful? Thanks for tuning in to the WayneBreezie Show on Friday. I got my man Tony in the building. Now, I know there wasn't a scheduled show for today. I know. But when Tony hits me up and says, let's do a show, we do a show. All right? That's how it works because Tony works, and I can't get him all the time, and this is the time I'm getting him. So that's why we're here. Tony, what's going on? Shout out to the Breezy Bunch crew out there. But, Tony, how you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. Just went for a jog, showered real quick, and now I'm here.
That's good. I mean, I was at the gym when you first inquired about the show. Bunch of moves being made by the 49ers. We're going to talk about all of them, how they're going to affect the team in 2024. I think that's the only thing I care about. And will the Niners have that type of team to make it back to the Super Bowl? We'll look at some of what the other teams are doing, and hopefully we'll be bringing somebody and bringing everybody out there that's watching some breaking news. I got to shout out my man Colin, 10-month member. Appreciate you. Shout out to Jax Knox in the building. First one in the building, too. Foghorn Jax, what's going on? Rob D. Manly Shavers, what's going on? Doc Black Orchid is in the building. What up, Nigel? I see the Breezy Bunch crew strong. I like to see the colored by their names. That means they are really lined up and tuned in. Tanisha, what's going on, sis? Good morning to you as well. Red and Gold Blooded is in the building. Kali, I see your comment out there. Listen, I told you this. Tony said let's do a show. I'm like, all right, let's do the show. Don't bother me. What's going on, family? Vince is in the building with the hashtag BB. The one and only Oscar is in the building. Says pretty confident in all the additions we made. No big splash moves, just a lot of solid depth pieces. Tony, I want to know how you feel about that. NY to the Bay, Fernando. What's going on, baby? Man, I see you guys out there, man. How you feel about that? Like, no big splash moves, but some splashes, right?
Yeah, there's some splashes. I'm a little bit nervous. With the restructurings. Like, you know how I feel about that. But minus Hargrave, they're doing it to people that are going to be around. I guess Kittle's going to fall under that umbrella of being around for a while, as well as Warner. But some of the people that they brought in, like we spoke about on our last show, new blood for the defense. They got rid of the old, brought in the new, retained Givens in there as well. But yeah, I mean, like I like what they're doing. They're adding pieces, right? And it's not costing them. Oh boy, it's not costing them a ton of money. That's where we're at right now. It's nothing that's going to be astronomical or they're big dollars that are on the back end of their deals. You know, they brought in Campbell today, 1-year deal. They brought in all the other guys, 2-year deals. So it's within that realm, and it's smart money as far as the new deals that are being signed. Smart structure, sorry.
I mean, there's methods to this, right? When you look at these 1-year, 2-year deals, you thinking about your franchise guy, they're going to have to make a move and potentially give Brock Purdy the bag and everything, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. They're still trying to figure out, are they going to work on an extension for wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, or will they, will they trade him by the trade deadline and things by the draft, and will Debo be moved, after June 1st? There's so many different scenarios that the 49ers can possibly do. Let's start with these restructures, all right? And so we got the 49ers news, and I think everybody out there is like, yes, before we get to the restructures, Matt Mayoko put this out, Tony, and I know it's got some people scratching their head, right? Because we're trying to figure out exactly, what this means as far as where do we get the bread And so NFL teams with the most salary cap room, and this was before I want to say something went down, like a signing or something. Following 49ers contract adjustments, number one, the 49ers have $36.3 million, almost $36.4 million at number one. The Browns are two, Cardinals are three, Bengals are fourth, Commanders are fifth. And so, let's talk about how the Niners got this cap space. And it starts with the restructures, right? Because this is a way you could free up some money. And I know you don't like pushing money down the road, but we got two players that restructured on today. How many restructures do we have in total, Tony? We got Fred Warner.
You got Fred Warner, you got Javon Hargrave, and George Kittle.
So three restructures.
That's been reported.
So three restructures as we know of, okay? And then I want to get your expectations. Do you think anybody else will get restructured, like a Christian McCaffrey or a Mooney Ward? But let's talk about this. The Niners got some cap space. This is a big number, and I'm trying to figure out if the restructures kind of gave us $16 million. How do we have $36 million?
Shit, I forgot about Juice too. I forgot.
Yes, but Juice gave us $1.75 million. I forgot about Juice. Thank you.
How do we get to this number? That's what I'm trying to find out as we speak. Well,
let's play the guessing game. Do you think it was
so approximately? Let's say it's. I read that Warner was $10 million, Hargrave was $6 million, Kittle was $10 million. So that's $26 million. You add 1.5 for, we'll just say 1.5 for Juice. That's $27.5 million. The $2 million for the $2.5 million. So that's $30 million for Eric Armstead, the instant cap relief.
Correct.
So right there is $30 million.
And okay, so
that's all I know.
Interesting. All right. So look, the Niners got some bread. All right. Let's have this conversation. Thank you, Matt Mayoko, for that. Let's have this conversation. The Niners got some money to play. Mm-hmm. Is there any possible way that a big move can happen? Let's say via trade. The Niners trade for cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. Is there any possible way the Niners can make that happen?
I mean, they could do anything. It's just how they want to do it. Number one, as far as structure and principle of the contract, the compensation is the compensation. That has nothing to do with the salary cap. But it all depends on what they do on that structure of the new contract once they trade him and sign him to a new deal. Similar to what with D Ford. Remember when they trade the second rounder, then bang, it was a 5-year, $85 million deal. Whoop, right off the bat.
Correct. And according to Sneed's camp, like he wants that deal set in place. But my question is, what do you think a deal like that would be for the 49ers? And would it be wise to add a cornerback to a deal? Like I believe the highest paid cornerback in the league is Jair Alexander as of right now. And is he looking to be the top paid corner in the league? Like, so if that's the case, that's going to be crucial, right? For the Niners.
Yeah, that's tough. That would be tough. I think I see them if they're going to go. I mean, I can't see them going that route because the number. I mean, they could, but
let's just say that they could. Let's focus on if they could and how would they do it. I get what you're saying. I get it. It doesn't make sense financially, but there's a way. And I think that's what I want to present to the community today. Like, there's a way they could make it happen. I'm not saying they should, but there's a way because can't they offer him? Let's say they do a 4-year. I don't know what the cornerback market is. I know that the salary, the tag is what, $19 million. So it's got to be higher than that.
So let's just say they trade a second rounder for him. They sign him. Actually, no. They extend him 3 years. They lower the 24 cap down to minimal and put it a phantom year and put it on the back end. That's the way they could do it, and then gradually raise that number
every year.
Yeah,
right.
So that's the way they would have to do it.
And what do you think that number would be this year, far as the cap? They would probably find a way to convert the majority of it into a signing bonus to keep it still underneath the cap, like to keep it minimum underneath the cap, right? Like to keep that number like 2-3 million, and then that's the only number that would affect the cap.
I think it would be a little bit more. I think it would have to be a little bit more.
Like
Because if they're
what?
going to give him a decent bonus, the bonus would be split over the portion of the deal.
Right.
So you're looking at, say, if they bring him in at, let's say they take his number. Let's say, what's the cap number for the franchise tag? 19.
19. Yeah.
So if they convert 19 down to like 4, and they add 10 million on a bonus, so that's $14 million for his first year. Stretch that out over 3 years with a phantom year. I mean, that's probably where he would be, maybe the $14 million range, including the bonus.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that this is something that's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a possibility that the Niners look to shore up the cornerback market, because if they do, that tells you that they're going to look differently in the draft for their cornerbacks, right? They might not even look at. I don't know what the Niners are doing. I don't know what they're going to be doing in this draft. All I know is they are making sure that the defense is pretty much stocked and ready to go. If you look at all the free agency signings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And listen, what the rumors are flying around about potentially adding a safety. They're in the market for a safety. Question about Hufanga's recovery, stuff like that. We don't know. Well, what's up, Terrell? So they add that piece now. Now your secondary gets better, right? Improvement on the back end. So you go from right now on paper, your definite starters with no question would be Jair Brown and Odom,
If they
who was
so you think
extended.
correct? Odom was extended. So we got all right. We got 4 restructures, 1 extension.
You got,
And
listen, I'll do it real quick. You got 4 restructures, Warner, Hargrave, Kittle, Juice. Your 2 extensions are going to be George Odom and Colton McKivitz, because Colton McKivitz
Colt
signed that one
McKivitz. Those were your 2 extensions. You're right. He got the $7
before the
million
start.
extension.
Then they
Yep.
cut Eric Armstead. They got 2.5 instant relief plus
Correct.
16.5 after June 1st, I
After
believe it
June
is.
1st. Correct.
Then they went out and signed Leonard Floyd to a 2-year deal. Yatar Gross Matos
To a 2-year deal.
Jordan Elliott, 2-year deal. Campbell to a 1-year deal, the linebacker today. Chase Lucas, 1
1-year
year
deal.
to a cornerback.
John
Specialty.
Feliciano.
And then the re-signs are Flanagan Foles, 1-year deal. Brandon Allen, the quarterback, 1-year deal.
Yep.
Ben Barch, 1-year deal for
1-year
the guard
deal.
center.
Yep.
Jawan Jennings was tendered on a 1-year deal.
Correct.
Givens was brought back on a 1-year deal, and John Feliciano on a 1-year deal.
And I feel like you're missing one.
Who's that?
Chris. Where they're working on the deal with Chris Conley, the wide receiver, on a 1-year deal.
Was he officially announced?
I believe that they're expected to do it, so I'm sure he's gonna be back. But just put him and just bubble him in.
He's in. Chris Conley on a 1-year deal. So that's what they've done so far. And the one thing that's a little bit nerve-wracking to me right now is that they've yet to announce that Leonard Floyd deal. So
well, the story behind that, Tony, from what I was from per Matt Barrows, is that he's not in town, and they're not going to do it until he gets into town next week. To be fair to him, and to make it official. So,
and that's also pending physical.
That's depending because he has to get into the facility. He has to, So yes.
But now my one question would be, what is the true cap number once that comes into play?
See, now we had to just wait to see what the
that's what's like. Okay, what the hell's going on here? Okay.
So we kind of got to just stand back and just kind of like wait just to see what it all is. But at the end of the day, I think they're gonna. The word on the street is that they're going to continue to find ways to make some moves. There's, there's a possible trade scenarios going on for players like Ambry Thomas, Danny Gray. These are probably going to be 6th, 7th round picks, if that, right? Like you're not going to net much for them.
Correct.
So like there's that going on. There's that floating on. Per 49ers news. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I know a lot of the faithful feel kind of like we're not making the big splashes and things like that. But again, like every time we have this conversation, we have to go back and look at the way that the team is structured and already currently built. And you have to sit there and factor in that they have these top players and these top contracts, and they're getting guys to like take these restructures. And Tony, can you do me a favor and just remind everybody, like explain the restructuring, because they're taking a they're doing something for the team to free up money just currently, but those players still getting paid that contract.
Yes. So what it is, I'm going to use it for basic math. Let's say it's a 4-year deal, 20 million, it's 5 million a year. They want to lower the 5 million in year one down to 2 million. So they take the 3 million and spread it out over the duration of the rest of the length of the contract. Or on the back end of it, they could say, we're going to add another year that's a phantom year. It's just to put your money so it doesn't raise. It hides your money so it doesn't raise the cap each year that you are technically under contract and signed for.
And so like I said, they're doing the team a favor for now.
Yes.
But
they're getting paid no matter what. They're getting paid.
Unless they get cut.
Well, no, the team would still have to pay the guaranteed portion of the money.
Correct.
That's where the dead cap comes in.
Correct. But my point is, like what's going on with Eric Armstead, right? So
yeah,
he was released on the last year of his deal. They asked him to take a pay cut. He said no. He didn't. He wasn't in agreement with it. They released him. So how much are we currently paying Eric Armstead?
Whatever the dead cap is, whatever it would be. Whatever the dead cap is this year, plus whatever the dead cap is last year. Those were the parts that were guaranteed. And how they did was, remember, they had the choice to do cut him now and just get $2.5 million, and then you're bang. In 2025, you're done with him.
You're done. Yeah.
But you're paying the majority of the hit this year. So they chose to split it. So half, whatever the numbers were. I don't remember exact breakdown. So they'll pay
but we're still paying him some money. So he's
Correct.
getting
Yes.
dead money from the Niners and his current new money from, where did he go?
Jacksonville. And just one thing, just don't forget, last year was the final year of D Ford, the Niners paying for D Ford.
Yeah, so his dead money's gone. Correct. Yeah.
So keep that in the back of your head. You're going to be paying for people that aren't on your roster anymore. Like the Niners are paying for Trey Lance this year.
Correct. Just the dead money. It's not a lot, but
guarantees. Exactly. It's $3 million, $3.5 million, hypothetically.
All right. Well, look, this is every team does this, so it's not a big thing. It's just that, you don't want to be paying a bunch of money for something you no longer have. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want to, but they have to. This is part of the way that the stuff is set up. So, but the Niners are also saving money in the long run. I mean, that's why I said, like, some of these players, like, depending on what that dead money looks like, with these restructurings, they could end up in an Eric Armstead type of situation. That's kind of like what I was alluding to, like where the team might release him if they come back and say, hey, you mind taking a pay cut? You're getting older, you're declining. That's a trend that I feel like the Niners are starting to set, and I wonder if the players are getting hip to that in some type of way.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about Aaron Donald's retiring from the NFL. Let's congratulations, man. Definitely, he was the best, probably the best defensive tackle in the game. Didn't really see much of a decline in his play, but the Niners definitely figured out how to handle him, and now he's no longer going to be there. When they play. So I think when I look at the Rams, I try to pay attention to the teams in our little division the most, seeing what they're doing. And if you had to just take a step back, and you look at the Rams, you look at the Cardinals, you look at the Seahawks, man, how do you feel their free agency is going as of right now? Like, how do you think their free agency is doing?
I think the Rams did the smart thing by solidifying the interior of their offensive line. Adding the 2 guards, the one they didn't add one. They added one and re-signed one. Dotson, they re-signed to a deal averaging $16 million a year. Then they just signed a guy from Detroit, Jackson. I forgot his first name. Former Ohio State and Rutgers guard that we spoke about numerous times coming out.
Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, him. He signed there, so they slide Avila as their center, more bigger physical player. That opened up the spot for Jackson. So now they're more bigger and physical on the interior, more experienced. So they're all about protecting Matt Stafford and trying to get that run game off the ground. But now defensively, they have a big loop. They have a big hole in the middle of that defense with Aaron Donald leaving. Seattle, they had some nice pieces. They retained Leonard Williams, the defense tackle they traded for last year. They had a couple nice young guys. The linebacker, I know NY wanted Hobson or something like that. Young speed guy. They signed a safety that the Niners were looking at that was released by Jacksonville. I'm trying to think if they had any other pieces. I know they lost a guard. Yeah, so off the top of my head, that's all I remember. Interesting, though, Arizona, they cut their captain and tackle, DJ Humphries, which I thought was a little bit odd because he was coming off of an ACL that happened in the latter part of the season. So right away, I was like, wow, you got this guy floating around as a free agent right now. Bring him in. Let's look at his medical, see where he is in his recovery. You could add him as a piece. I mean, I'm sure he's looking for a big payday, but it doesn't hurt just to do due diligence and kick the tires on something. So God forbid if you can't get what you want in the draft, you can fall back and maybe try to work something out with that. I mean, the NFL, anyone that gets cut that's a former starter, a captain, a leader of a team with playing experience, you got to kick the tires on it and just make sure, I'm not saying commit to it, but see where he's at in his recovery. It don't hurt, right? It don't hurt.
It doesn't. And I think that's something that happens with the San Francisco 49ers, right? They're going to look at some of these players. I'm really high on this player named Connor Williams. And, I feel like every time I mention him, no one's really paying attention. But we talk about he was one of the top centers in the league until the ACL injury late in the season. And so I think the 49ers addressed the draft. And then you got some players out there where the Niners will still have some money that will still remain free agents after the draft. And then you go on your kind of like your second wave of free agency. All right.
It kicks back up again.
It kicks right back in, right? So it's like draft, big splash, fill in holes, blah, 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 blah. Then you got the draft coming up. And then right after the draft, it's like free agency. It's not a frenzy. Now you can really fine tune and say, hey, let me see if I can get this guy on here. Let's see if he can come in here. Let's see where he is. If they're injured players, let's see where they are in their recovery. Let's give them a physical. Let's do all these different types of things. Because don't think Tre'Davious White is going to be out there free for a long, long time. But because the draft is coming, these guys are going to remain free agents. Why? Injuries. They're a little bit older, but that don't mean you can't go out there and get them on those kind of like low risk, high reward type deals. And we'll see what happens with the 49ers. But let's talk about the deals that they're making. And I know a lot of people, when it came to them signing Eric Kendricks, it was like a mixed bag, as far as emotions and what Eric Kendricks could do and things like that. And that fell through because he had a change of heart and Dallas offered him an extra year and a little bit more money. And so he's with the Cowboys. But then the Niners still found a way to fill a spot at the linebacking position with former, I don't like to say former All-Pro, but former Packer All-Pro linebacker Devondre Campbell. And I want you to talk a little bit about Devondre Campbell and your thoughts. And you know what I'm saying? Like, do you have anything good, anything negative? Like give me the positives and negatives of Devondre Campbell. That's kind of like how I wanted it.
I remember Devondre Campbell last year. He had a down year, 2021-2022 season.
All pro year, yeah.
Yeah, all pro year. And I remember him being like a thorn in Kittle's side for some strange reason. I remember that year, and then a year that he was with the Falcons. He was a decent cover linebacker at the time, zone coverage, whether majority zone, but he knew where the windows were going to be. So it shows me he's a high IQ guy. Clearly, he's not that player that he was, but let's just remember, Dre Greenlaw is going to be coming back. Dre Greenlaw is not off the team. He's not gone forever. Yes, he's recovering from a Achilles tendon injury, but he will be back. And now, in my opinion, this signing strengthens the linebacking core for when all three of them are on the field. Because in my opinion, Campbell is an upgrade over Burks. Campbell is an upgrade over DFF. So, with that being said, I do like the signing. And something came out on Twitter. He posted, finally, someone's going to get a linebacker, blah, 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 that won't misuse me. Now, when you say that, did Green Bay change something with him and how they used him and aligned him in certain situations? Maybe they did. And maybe San Francisco saw something in him, and maybe they feel they can get him back to his old form or near his old form while Dre Greenlaw is out. Now, I will tell you this. It's against the tradition of the 49er linebackers. Height, weight, measurement, stuff like that. I personally think
he's a more typical linebacker.
I personally think this was a KJ Wright influence signing.
Okay.
Because he's kind of the same stature of
6'3", 232, bro. Let's
Bigger
just talk
dude.
about it.
You know what I'm saying? Big dude, you put him on the line of scrimmage, jamming, setting the edge and stuff like that. When you're in your base personnel, maybe they might trickle back to the old Seattle defense and get back to the basics with that. We don't know. But
we're gonna have the conversation because I could tell you right now, if they bring in Justin Simmons and they sign Justin Simmons, you are looking at that Seattle single high Earl. What was his name? Earl Thomas. You were looking at the single high safety, defense, cover 2, whatever you want, and now you got the linebackers to play out there, and this would be your base guy. He's not bad in coverage. He took a dip in his coverage game. If I just look at what he graded last year, we talk about Devondre Campbell, former 4th round draft pick with the Atlanta Falcons, and then he's now formerly with the Green Bay Packers. Last year he had no sacks. He had a couple of pressures. They didn't use him a lot like they normally would have, but he did play 694 snaps. And I think the cool thing is, Tony, he played some of those snaps at the weak side linebacker, Tony, and so that's got me like it's got my juices flowing right now. Pause, right? Because I'm saying to myself, okay, he's a Mike linebacker, typical Mike linebacker. You talked about his stature, his size, everything. Ran a 4.58, got the speed as a linebacker. All right. And I think he was misused a lot in Green Bay. I don't know what they were doing over there, but the defense didn't look the same. Not the way that it normally looked when he was the All-Pro. And you could say it's because of, him declining, but I don't think he was declining. I think this kid is going to go to a different type of culture, a new system, and he's going to the best damn linebacking core group in the world, right? He's going to Dre Greenlaw, just because he's injured doesn't mean he's not going to be in the building. And I like it. And the Niners in base, this is good. Niners in nickel, he can switch to the weak side. You bring in another young guy that's developing, and you let him, figure out and so now you still can develop your D Winters. I just don't see as a big drop of getting him or Eric Kendricks. I think the Niners needed a player that could come in and fill in a role, and who knows, Tony. I'm not saying this in a negative way, but we've seen the Niners sign free agents, and they came and just took over. And I'll give you the example if you don't remember. Let's go back to the year they signed Gibson, and Jimmy Ward was coming off the injury. What happened?
Yeah. Gibson
not
took over.
Not saying this happens to Dre Greenlaw. I'm just saying you'll have, if Devondre Campbell, if you hit on Devondre Campbell and he gives you great production, now you just not only
better.
That's all I'm saying. That's it. I know it took a lot of words, but that's all I'm saying. 68 tackles, 98 total tackles. He had 11 missed tackles last year, 27 stops. He was targeted 58 times. He gave up 47 receptions on last year. I'm curious to know. I want to know how many times Dre Greenlaw was targeted last year. So Tony, you talk to him. I'm going to figure that out.
Yeah, I just seen Mark Espinosa just putting near Quan Alexander. That was someone I brought up as a guy to come in and work with the linebacker core till Dre gets back. I just found out he's recovering from a torn Achilles himself. So
Yeah, I
mean, you can't be bringing in somebody.
Yeah, he just stays injured.
You need somebody healthy from day one with no injuries, concerns coming off the bat, coming off the rip in the beginning of the season. You know where they're at physically, and that's where you want to stick right now as you're building your roster and preparing the roster to enter the NFL draft process. So another thing we haven't spoken about while Wayne's looking at this, I just want to touch on this real quick, is if the 49ers, if the league started tomorrow, the 49ers are bringing back the same offense.
They bring it back the same offense. Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's the same offensive line. It's not worse. It didn't get worse.
But it didn't get better. But what's wrong with that? So you're telling me I'm asking this question. I'm asking you this question. Do I want to see upgrades to the offensive line? Absolutely.
Yes.
But if they didn't, this is the same offensive line that allowed a quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards. We had 1,000-yard pass catchers. I just feel like even though the offensive line needs to be upgraded, especially in certain positions, they definitely can go back out there and continue to compete against the best of the best. Now, and I say this to say that if John Feliciano comes in here and he's the starting right guard, that's an upgrade. They toddle, it was back and forth. But if you put him next to Colton McKivitz, what if it's a better rapport between those guys? And now that's just an upgrade. Let's say Aaron Banks healthy is a great guard in the NFL. It's just that he can't stay healthy, and then his play declines. And then It takes a toll on your older veteran, elder statesman, Trent Williams, and now he's overcompensating. So all I'm saying is they're a little bit older only at one position. But if Brendel is the guy that they're going to use going forward as your center, this will be his third year starting, right? You got to think he's going to progress a little bit more, right? Like just the experience alone. Tony, talk to me about this offensive line. I know it's not the best, but it's not the worst.
I'm going to pull the Oscar Alfaro up at 232. Pull that up. Okay? Now, what he just said there, you don't see Feliciano coming in as a center. Feliciano gives you versatility.
Correct.
Colt McKivitz gives you versatility.
Correct.
But what I'm trying to say right now, if the league started tomorrow, you have your 5 starters intact. You're not saying, "Oh shit, who's starting here? Who's starting here? We need to adjust. What are we doing?" You're good. You're good. You're back where you were. You're not better, and you're not worse.
We don't. I would say we're not worse, but we won't know if we're better because what you are bringing back is.
I'm saying just on paper.
Correct. Okay. But the key to that, Tony, is consistency. So you're bringing back the guys that have played together, got to the Super Bowl to get. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So now the flip end of this, if I asked you right now, name me 5 guys, offensive linemen, right, that are dead locked, 100% plug and play players, and you have the utmost 100% confidence that they will be NFL starters, base floor, ceiling, all pros. Name me 5 guys.
Joe Alt, Talise Fuaga, maybe J.C. Latham, but I watched him get his ass whipped by Michigan. But I'm thinking right side guys. Mm-hmm. Those would be the 3 starters. But I really like Amarius Mims and I really like Tyler Guyton.
So those are your top 5.
Those are my top 5.
Okay. So my point to you is going to be this.
And the Penn State tackle. I forgot about the Penn State tackle.
All right, so we'll go
I don't see Barton Graham playing tackle.
Okay.
I see them kicking him into guard.
If I said to you, all 6, we'll even go 10 guys. We'll add Morgan, Barton, the center from Oregon.
Okay. Yep, Jackson
And
Power Johnson, got you.
did you say the gentleman from BYU?
I don't think he's first round guy. I
All
think
right,
he'd be
I'm
great
just
in
going to
the.
put him in there for this
Okay,
exercise.
I think he'll be great in a run game like Mike McGlinchey, but I think he was struggling pass pro.
All
That's
right,
where
so
I am.
all 10 of your targets
Mhm.
on the offensive line, whether it's guard, tackle, center, are all gone off the board at 31.
You can't. I like this exercise. This is why I keep
This
trying.
doesn't force you
No,
to reach and just say, I have to take a lineman. No, because you have your starters back.
correct.
So if, let's say, because all those linemen went high and oh my God, what are we going to do? We don't have a lineman. But guess who fell into the 31 area that I'm not saying they are. By all means, I'm not saying. But what happens if the kid from Penn State, Chop Robinson, somehow slips through and falls to 31?
I'm just saying, you draft best
Or
player.
corner.
Yeah,
Or
you
the top corner.
you draft that best player available at that spot at 31.
That's what I'm trying to say. By handling things the way they do with all these 1-year deals and all these re-signings and extensions that the 49ers did, there's no glaring hole right now
That's
to say
the key.
we have to get this guy at 31.
That's the key.
Now the tide's different. If the top tackle, the kid from Penn State, starts dropping into the high 20s,
Now you start. Now you can go. Now you could trade up the same way they traded up to go grab the safety Jair Brown for Penn State. Yes,
exactly. So right now, what they did is they fulfilled this roster minus the safety position, and there's rumors flying all over the place. They're going to add a safety. Mike Silver's been knocking it out of the park this year. There's a couple other guys that are hitting it out of the park. Marco Martinez, I don't know if you guys follow him. He's doing good with his thing. Jesse and all them guys are doing good.
really
but
good.
They right now can field an NFL roster with what they have right now off of what they did the first week of free agency.
And compete.
And
contest, right?
Contest with no structure change on the offensive side of the ball.
There you go.
Potentially a slight change on the defensive side of the ball.
And so when we talk about slight change on the defensive side, we're literally talking basically not the format, but just the mentality of the type of players that they're getting. I think the Niners defensively want to take away the run again. I think they are better at playing football when they just eliminate the run. You can't run on them. They force you to be one-dimensional. That's what I'm getting from what the Niners did in free agency for this particular defense. They got run-stuffing guys. They got tackling machines. They got guys that will come in here and eliminate that run opposed to what they had prior. Now, there's a new defensive coordinator. There's some help out there. A lot of things have changed defensively. But the key is the offense, right? So the key is Kyle Shanahan. I'm not saying he's comfortable. I think he's going to cook in this draft. And I think he attacks the draft by getting the best player available at 31, unless their guy on their big board is sitting and they want to move up to get him, or they just stay pat at 31 and don't get rid of, don't trade any picks, and they say, hey, we're going to take this best player. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't care how many defensive tackles we sign in free agency, but if Jerzon Newton is there, or if Byron Murphy the second is there, or if Braden Fisk is there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners went defensive tackle. You look at Javon Hargrave, you look at these guys that they brought in, you're getting an instant day one starter, and you just automatically made your depth that much bigger, that much better by getting one of these young kids that could come in, not only stop the run, but be great in pass rush. So there's a possibility they go that way. Or like you said, there might be an edge rusher that's just smacking them in the face, and they go edge rusher. Or there might be a corner. Let's say Kool-Aid falls to 31. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners draft a cornerback with their first pick in round one. I wouldn't be surprised. So they filled the holes, and now they get to sit back and they really get to evaluate and really focus on the best players available around their draft spot. And this is how they build their big board, right? This is how they build their big board. So I'm super excited. A lot of people like this kid out of BYU, Sumatea. Matea, Kingsley, and listen, monster. From my evaluation and what I've watched, he's a monster. I think he struggles in pass pro, but this is the run guy. If you want to run the ball to this side, this is the kid you want starting day one, right?
And where's he going to play? The right side.
Right side.
Always to the left. Now you can kick it to the right now.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
If he struggles in pass pro, it sounds like Mike McGlinchey to me.
The difference between him and Mike McGlinchey is he could anchor, and he's not going to get pushed around.
He's not going to get pushed. He's not going to get pushed around. Okay.
But you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
You're not moving him.
No, and I totally agree with that. I'm just saying he's also a rookie. He's also got to get into
100%.
You know, so it might take some time for him to get into that NFL physicality part of football to where he might get pushed around early. We might not like what we see, things like that. But
if you look at it, right, you still have McKivitz if he's not ready from day one.
Correct. But would you think that's a reach on a guy that can't go day one? Because I feel like your first round pick needs to go day one. Like they need to be ready to go.
For a top 10 pick. The top 10 guys are like, you know, the elite, the top-notch tackles.
But that's not fair. That's not fair, right, Tony? Because of the quarterbacks, top 10 guys are going to get pushed back. You get what I'm saying? So because of quarterbacks being taken,
that's true. Because there is a lot of quarterbacks this year.
There's going to be, yeah.
I'll go top 15. The top 15 guys. I'm not saying they're 100% ready. I'm saying they're going to be put into the position to start from day one because of their draft status. Like McGlinchey. What I am going to say is to have the luxury to return your starting right tackle and have this guy sit till he gets ready and acclimated to the speed of the game. Because I'm going to tell you right now, offensive tackle is probably one of the offensive line, corners, quarterback. They're probably one of the toughest positions. They're the toughest positions to adjust to the NFL due to the speed of the game, right?
Bingo.
So you have quarterbacks that get the ball out in under 2 seconds, like legit under 2 seconds, because
especially us.
Everyone, like people don't understand the change of the college systems and installation of offenses ruined the production of the quarterback,
100%.
Ruins the production of the receiver, ruins the production, the development of all these position groups. Why? They're not running NFL routes. He's not reading NFL concepts, not making NFL throws. The line doesn't have to protect as long because the ball's coming out so goddamn quick. So literally it's the post punch and they're gone. The ball's out. So you want that curve to see, all right, where is this guy at? You let him run, get his reps in the preseason, see where he's at in his development as a lineman, right? See where he's at. If he shows he can do that, then maybe you talk about starting him from day one. Or you go with your right tackle from last year, McKivitz, you throw him in there, you keep working with him, you could alternate him, get him reps, and see where his development is then. And then if he picks up, then he continues and he takes over the right tackle spot from McKivitz. But unfortunately, with today's college football programs, and it doesn't start at the college football, it starts at the high school level. Even I've seen it at the Pop Warner. These kids get the ball out quick and run. Just use your speed, run. They're not teaching them NFL, like obviously they're not going to teach them NFL concepts, but basic principles of the NFL, of the pro football game that we grew up on. It's different today than what they're teaching.
I agree 1,000%. I got a couple of questions. My man Vince says, if Jacksonville wants Aiyuk, what are you asking for in return?
If you want him, you have to blow me away. So I'm asking for the world. I'm asking for a king's ransom.
What would that look like though for you, Tony? Because
a high one, a mid one, because I think they're at 17. I want your one and a later round pick.
So you're cool with 17, but you want a third rounder too, you know what I mean?
I want an overpay. I want you to convince me to let go Brandon Aiyuk to you. That's what I want.
I feel like that's what the Niners are doing. I feel like they're going to field the offers. And unless there's a King's ransom type of offer, Brandon Ayuk will stay, and they will look to continue to get him extended at some point, or he's just gonna have to play for $14.1 million.
And I know what potentially could happen.
Okay.
Right? There's a reason why Brandon Ayuk and Jacksonville are like this. Number one, they just lost Ridley. Number two, there's no state tax in Jacksonville. Why do you think Eric Armstead went there?
Absolutely. I know people were like,
Brandon
well,
Ayuk knows that.
yeah, and so like people were like, well, if the Niners were the Niners asked him to take the pay cut at $17 million, wasn't it the same? No, it's not the same because you got to factor in the taxes from the state.
Well, on paper, it's like,
but it's not
Eric
the same when
Armstead-
he gets his check. God dang it!
Exactly. Yeah, no, but I mean, like people don't understand sometimes that the logistics of that. But like if you go on Spot Rack and it shows Eric Armstead's salary, it's the same thing as what it was in San Francisco. They're like, oh my God, he took the same thing. He's not a team player, but whatever. But that's why I think you're seeing that attachment to Jacksonville. They need a guy. They have the money, and they're willing to let the potentially let the compensation go.
I love it. And then Mark follows it up and says, well, what if we take a wide receiver at 31? Does that mean Aiyuk or Debo is getting traded? So if they're taking a wide receiver at 31, I'm assuming that's a good question, because you're not going to trade Aiyuk because the first round's over.
This is what I'm going to say. If they take a receiver at 31 and both those guys are on the team, one of them are gone next year.
But my question, right? So it would sound like it might be Debo getting traded, but then we have to look at that post June 1st trade money and like how that would look for the 49ers. But I get what you're saying. But my point is, if we take a wide receiver at 31, that means Aiyuk's still on the roster though, because we didn't trade him to get a higher first round pick, right?
Correct.
Ugh.
Unless they did. Unless he's saying
they traded him already.
If Aiyuk is traded already, they go to 17, they take a starting right tackle.
There's no okay. Let's talk about this.
Rolls around.
Right.
Remember the year that they drafted Aiyuk?
I do, and they traded up to get him.
Similar to that.
Hey, so let's talk about this, because I don't think that there's going to be a Brandon Aiyuk caliber wide receiver at 31. So
was Brandon Aiyuk a Brandon Aiyuk caliber receiver when we took him at 27 or 26?
Yeah, I don't think there would be one at 31 though, unless unless you're talking about Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. Okay, like now we're getting into that wave, because you know what, I'm thinking Roma Dunze, I'm thinking Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm thinking Malik Neighbors. I think those would be like your first tier wide receivers to go. And then if you're looking at 31, it might be like a Brian Thomas Jr. And then after that, I feel like the drop is the drop. You can still maybe the kid from Washington. That's a maybe. Hey, where did Dante Pettis go to school?
Washington.
I'm not drafting any wide receivers from Washington. It's just not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Not on my watch. No more wide receivers from Washington. But I think if they do take a wide receiver, it won't be to the second round. But again, if they do take a wide receiver at 31, it's got to be one of those top names. I don't know if they would go after Xavier Worthy in round 1, right? Like I don't like, but that's that second tier. Like that's Xavier Worthy. I mean Xavier. Maybe the fast kid. What if they go with the fast kid? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The kid that ran the 4.2. Worthy. That's his
Worthy.
name. Xavier Legette is his name. And so I don't know. I don't know what the Niners are going to do, man. I think that the 49ers pretty much are set to just draft the best player available, but I think they're going to. But what if the best player available at 31 is a running back? That's why I have to ask you that question, because I wanted the authentic Tony chuckle.
Trade back.
Trade back.
Trade back.
Trade back. Jonathan Brooks is staring you right in the face at 31. You potentially have your CMC replacement for the next several years. Trade him back, right?
Trade him back. Trade him back.
I ain't mad at you, yo. I ain't mad at you. I'm not. Kyle Shanahan shouldn't draft the running back. Period.
Jump off the Golden Gate Bridge if you draft him.
If you thought they were mad they drafted a kicker in round 3 last year, I wish Kyle Shanahan would draft a running back with the first pick in the draft. This fan base would go bananas. But you know what? It's funny because I wouldn't like when I look at the running back talent. It's like it's him. Maybe a couple of other guys that are first round picks, but other than that, like you gonna get a running back in this draft. You get him in round 7. You get him undrafted. There's gonna be guys you can get that Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner pretty much have probably penciled in on their big boards and things like that. And so we'll see what happens with that. Tony, any other moves you think that the San Francisco 49ers are gonna do? Let's talk about any other extensions you see maybe in the near future, like today, like any other extensions that the 49ers may offer a player or two?
I would say Travarius Ward is something to keep an eye on. I think he's on the final year of his deal. His original deal, I don't have his current deal in front of me. I'm trying to get it on my phone, but
I'll pull it up. Hold on. You keep talking. I got you.
He's one. I thought Fred Warner could potentially be. You're going to fall. I thought Fred Warner could potentially be one.
I'm practice skating for roller skating.
Okay,
well, Fred Warner, he was already
before the restructure. I thought they would try to extend him.
Got you instead of restructuring him. Got you.
But they didn't do that. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anybody else really. I mean, maybe they might tinker with Malik Collins' deal because he has a high number this year. Maybe lower it and give him a 2-year extension to spread it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But no matter what you do, like I just text you the extension, the restructure of Hargrave, and I want you to like look at the last two numbers.
Dang.
That is what I don't like, and that is where they're going to run into the same situation
with Eric Armstead. But this is my point. Like this is what the Niners are doing.
Yeah, I just
you don't like 2025 and 2026, correct?
Yes. The 2027 is.
But we can't. We guys, this is the game. All right. So Akash posted. Like this is the game. This is the game we play. Like you got to find a way to free up some money to get better in this particular salary cap. And so, which players are you going to go to? You're going to ask them about the restructure, and they can either agree to. I don't know if the players get a say so in the restructuring, but I believe that they do. And so when you look at Javon Hargrave's restructure. 2025, $28.125 million, 2026, $29.88 million. And so like,
oh my God,
it's almost identical to the number of Eric Armstead in his final year of the contract.
Did you see this trade?
No, what's going on?
The Steelers are trading Pickett to the Eagles. The quarterback.
I knew
Pickett.
his ass was gone. I knew he was gone. I knew he was gone.
Well, who's behind Russell Wilson?
They all in on Russ, man. They'll draft a quarterback.
Did they watch last season?
I think Russell Wilson might have been one of those guys that was in a sucky situation in a sucky system. You got to look at it like that.
Unless they plan on trading it, unless Pittsburgh has something up their sleeve with Justin Fields.
I don't think they would trade for Justin Fields, but he could be a good replacement for. You move on from, after the 1-year deal. I think they draft a guy and they develop the kid under Russell Wilson. I think that'll be the right way to do it. But Kenny Pickett and Philly, that's dope because we'll take out Jalen Hurts and good old Kenny Pickett coming in there. So look, at the end of the day, Javon Hargrave is going to cost the team some bad money in the last 2 years of his deal, but. It's just the way the game is, right? Like it's the way it is. Mason Rudolph went to a different team. He's on a different team. He got signed. So at the end of the day, man, I'm not even like stressing out the money situation because the Niners always have ways to get outs. Like there's always a way, whether they take a cap hit with the dead money, post June 1st, because we just watched how this worked. And I don't expect Hargrave to be injured. I expect Hargrave to play out the term of his contract, but if he's doing a team a solid this year, the team's gonna have to take care of him next year. The last couple of years. So I'm not.
I gotta see if they lost that opt out with that restructure.
I was looking up Mooney Ward's contract because he's on the last year of his deal, and so I can see an extension with him.
Maybe
sure.
Mooney Ward. They just extended Dre, so he's out. Let's see.
Correct. Dre Greenlaw was extended a year ago. Good job. I forgot about that.
So let's see. I'm just looking up real quick. Yeah, they can move on. They still. Oh my god.
They still have the out in there?
No, they lost it.
It's part of the game, yo. Hey,
They lost it in 25.
it's part of the
26.
game. I'm not tripping over the money because at the end of the day, the cap goes up, the Niners figure stuff out, and every year we have the same conversation, and then every year they figure out ways to figure out which players are going to be restructured next year, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. And what if Javon Hargrave? And here's gonna be what's really crazy, right? So we're talking about the $9 million he's going to affect the cap this year. What if Javon Hargrave gets you 13 sacks and just balls out next year? Like, are we going to really have a problem paying him that $26 million, $25 million in 2025? Like I think the issue is these players aren't producing at the year they get that big hit. Like I think like Deebo Samuel, $26 million, but he's not putting up $26 million numbers, right? And so when the Niners go to these players and be like, hey man, you mind taking a pay cut? You're not performing this, what we thought you were gonna do, that's when stuff starts to hit the fan. At the end of the day, I think they figure it out. You know what I mean? But the cap goes up every year. So I'm not as worried as others when it comes to the cap, but I do appreciate those that put the information out. Tony, let's cap this show off. Speaking of cap, man, like overall, man, give me your thoughts on the Niners so far in free agency. I know they filling holes, and we got plenty of draft talk to start getting into. But overall, man, how you feeling?
I feel good because they completed their goal, right? Full flexibility when it comes to the NFL draft. And they accomplished that. They filled the needs that they needed to fill, right? They found a pass rusher finally that can get them 9-10 sacks opposite side of Bosa. First time in a very long time. First time since Nick Bosa's been here. They tried going the cheap end. They realized it wasn't going to work. They tried D Ford. They took on a massive contract with a guy with a lot of injuries. That didn't work. They tried Clinton Farrell. They tried trading for Chase Young. None of that worked. So finally, they landed for Floyd, and in part-time roles or situational roles, this guy's getting 9-10 sacks.
10
so
mm-hmm.
I like that signing. I consider that an upgrade opposite of Bosa. Like we said on the show the other day, they replaced someone that they missed. In my opinion, I think they missed a lot. Omenihu. They go out and get a younger version. Yatir Gross Matos.
Yeah, his ability to be versatile.
Versatile. You move on from Eric Armstead. You move on from all your depth pieces minus Givens. You bring in a Jordan Elliott who could play the run and offer you something in the pass rush. 2-year deal. You go out and make a trade for a 7th-round pick that probably is not going to make the roster. You can't say that, though, because we did draft Purdy in the 7th. But you bring in a guy, Malik Collins, who changes up the philosophy of the rush of your defense. No longer do you have 2 interior linemen strictly doing like a swim over or a consistent bull rush. You got a guy with a spin. You got a guy that can bull rush. You got a guy that can swim. You got a guy who can move on stunts. And that's what you picked up in Collins for a 7th-round pick. I think that's an upgrade, right? So now you come down to Campbell. Is he perfect? Is he great? Is he awesome? No. But is he better than what we had? Yes, to hold the fort down until Greenlaw comes back. Then when they all come back healthy, you have one hell of a friggin' linebacking core.
Which
right?
is an upgrade over the linebacking core from last year.
Correct. Now, change of philosophy might help elevate Campbell's game back to where he was. Possibly, potentially, good. Yes. Chase Lucas, I'm not going to lie, seems just like a straight special teams guy. Don't know much about him. I think he had maybe 10 defensive snaps in his career. That doesn't offer much to the defense. But bringing back Lucas, bringing back Foles, bringing back Odoms, bringing back Connolly, your special teams did not take a step back. So your gunners are there, your cover guys are there. They did lose Burks. Well, Burks was not brought back yet, but they add a couple nice pieces in kick coverage. Losing McLeod, they have to go out and find a kick returner, punt returner. I would love them to sniff around Patterson, Cordell Patterson, bring him in, see what he could do, and offers a little bit of a rest for and a change of look out of the backfield for the 49ers and Christian McCaffrey.
Might be a good piece, Tony. I could dig it. Cordero, how do you say his name? Patterson. Cordero. That's it. Cordero Patterson. That might be something that they pick up. He is a little bit of an older player, but he is a phenomenal. I prefer Jamal Agnew from Jacksonville, free agent from Jacksonville, who's also a wide receiver who can also line up in the backfield. He has a little bit more speed, doesn't fumble the ball, doesn't turn it over, and can give you some options as well. But, you know, when you look at Cordero Patterson, he was injured last season, struggled to get on the field. Once he was available to get on the field, the Falcons didn't really use him properly. So, look, it could be there's options, but again, these pieces may not be fulfilled until after the draft because you're going to draft some players that can potentially be your return guy and things like that. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when it comes down to what the Niners are going to continue to add to build their roster. But overall, for me, Tony, I'm liking everything that we're seeing. They're not super flashy signings, but as long as they're the right signings, that's the only thing I care about. And, you know, when I look at Jordan Elliott, I look at the trade for Malik Collins, immediately I'm thinking they are building to not get ran on. Like that's the only thing. And when you look at Devondre Campbell, like we're talking about this guy's a tackling machine. He had 98 tackles last year with the Green Bay Packers on a down year. It's like that's crazy to me. So my bold prediction is that he will lead the San Francisco 49ers in tackles, total tackles in 2024. That's right. I said it right here on the show. It's out there on Twitter as well. You know, I stand by mine. Tony, man, listen, it's always great. And you just send me a message, man, when you're ready to jump on. And we got free agency. We got the draft to really, really get down and start getting into the grit. Now that the Niners have pretty much their team pretty much built, at least the infrastructure is built as far as who's starting. The question is, how are they going to look to address the draft? So, Tony, I'm super excited about the draft and what the Niners can do. I still think they need to address the offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners drafted with 10 picks and 6 of them were offensive players. Like, I wouldn't be mad. I really wouldn't. But to me, Tony, this is the draft. You can draft your offensive line for 2025, 26, and 27. That's how good I think the prospects are in this particular draft. Like, you can really build your offensive line. And you got to remember, the Niners only need a couple of key pieces. You can look to replace Trent Williams, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route in free agency again if he was to retire, right? I think right now you shore up that right side, you fix it, you patch it up, you make it better, and you can do it by building in this draft. We're going to give you tons of prospects to look at. You can also check out the Patreon where I do a Friday Night Lights special. That's going to be tonight. So there's going to be a new Friday Night Lights video where I'm talking about safety Sione Vaki, who after watching him, I'm like, oh my, this kid's a weapon. like defensively, and you could put him on offense as a running back. Like that's something crazy. So I'll be doing that little breakdown on him tonight on the Patreon. Go ahead into www.patreon.com. Tony, it's been real, man. Any final thoughts before we jump off out of here? 4 p.m., the BAM show, Breezie and Mike show. 4 p.m., we'll be back. We're going to be talking about some good stuff. Desperate or confident. I can't wait till we get into that about the San Francisco 49ers. Final thoughts, Tony.
No, I'm good, man. Just keep your keep your eyes open. There'll be potential another piece added to the puzzle. Silver's been hit out of the park. Like I said earlier, you have interest in safeties. Simmons, Blackman, Poyer, I heard now. If they do dip their nose into the free agent market for the safety position, I would love them to sniff around Quandre Diggs, who Seattle just released.
I like the young kid. I like him. I like him a lot.
So just just keep your eyes open. Check Twitter. Breezie, set your alert for Breezie show and another Banana show and all the other content creator shows. And that's pretty much it. Just stay tuned. Maybe another week of this, and then the full draft prep starts, because I still think that there's maybe 4 days of free agency. They're letting these guys see and feel the market out. And I think some big names might be trickling off soon, as far as a couple safeties, a couple corners, and whatever other big names are out there. I don't know off the top of my head, but
I couldn't agree anymore, guys. Free agency frenzy is not over. Again, this is going to continue beyond the draft. Guys, stay tuned, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Happy Friday out there to everybody. If you have a birthday and you celebrate and turn up, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. If you celebrate it, I know I'm going to be greened out. You know how I do. Love y'all, man. Stay up, man. Stay faithful. Always keep it nitty gritty. Until the next time, baby. We'll be back. Peace.
I be sipping gold bar, whiskey on the rocks, and a 24-karat gold on a watch. My 7-1 Chevy be tipping non-stop, sounding like Trent Williams on the block. So you know we can't stop, we be banging through your speakers. WayneBreezie on the field or in the bleachers. You can tune into my show and I'm a teacher. WayneBreezie, the 4-9 preacher.